I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, April the 2nd, and it's that time of year, guys, time to dig those straw hats out of the closet. And I know they look funny when you first put them on, but you'll get used to it, and you just don't want to be caught wearing a short sleeve shirt with your felt hat. But you know, we've had tough markets here the last couple of weeks, and last week was the worst. As we saw that dead cat bounce, we thought we was going to get a recoil because the board had been down so severely on your cattle for the last few weeks, and we thought we would see that kind of recoil and we'd get a resurgence there and some opportunities to get in or out or whatever you needed to do to get lined back up. But it only lasted a few hours there, a little bit on Tuesday and on Wednesday. And then we saw how bearish everybody's attitudes are on Thursday, which was the last day that the board was trading because of Good Friday there. But it just took a little bit of prospective planning's bearishness on cattle, bullishness on grains to take things down the limit. And now we're looking at that bearishness, and we're looking at the big wall of fat cattle that they say is coming at the end of April, and everybody's got all their grazing cattle bought, and the feedlots are full, even though our market ready cattle aren't that heavy, and they've sold a lot of these cattle between now and the wall of cattle. They've already sold a lot of those cattle for a short future delivery, 2 to 4 week delivery, and your packers are going to have all the leverage, and things are not looking good for your market position on either feeder or fat cattle. And it's that feeling when you're riding that roller coaster and you start getting pulled up that hill. When the clicking stops, you know you better hang on. That's where we're at, guys. Look at the board for last week. June live cattle ended at 102.57, down 363. Your April spot was at 113.75 at the end of the week, which is really not all that far now after they took a big bite out of the market last week from where cash is at. You look on down the line in the horizon, August fat cattle on the board sitting at 101.47. May feeder cattle ended the week at 134.02, down 328. March sitting at 135.60. August up at 140.42 for those green yearlings coming off grass. But if you remember, just a few weeks ago, we were sitting way up in the mid 150s on that. Your fat cattle trade on 84,000 head through Thursday in the 5 area feeding region. A little bit of cleanup trade on Friday. Still going to kind of be a disappointing movement with your live weighted average on steers at 120.97, right in there tied at 121. That's about $5 lower than it was for the previous week's weighted average. Your dress trade was a little up and down all over from 190 to 194. Through Thursday with a weighted average on steers at 192.33, down $9.55 from the weighted average of the previous week. That bullish prospective planning's report on the grain should not have affected cattle that much, but it didn't take much. Anything to just push the cattle futures off the edge. And you got a lot of managed money that were waiting to ride it one way or the other, and they couldn't wait to ride the cattle down. They're going to ride the grains up a little ways, which will make both of those last a little bit longer. But you look at your feeder cattle market, your cash feeders in the auctions for last week were uneven, but ended $3 to $5 lower. Remember, we started out on Monday with high volume sales about that much lower, trying to catch up with the previous week. Then we had that little mild bounce for a few hours there late Tuesday and on Wednesday, but then it plummeted again on Friday, but didn't have a good test in your cash feeder cattle auctions because it was just kind of a quiet day with the board closed and on Good Friday. Your southeastern calf markets for shipped in calves were sharply lower last week. $3 to $7 lower, spots as much as $10 lower, as guys just don't have enough time to get those cattle straightened up and ready to turn out on your major grazing areas, and most everybody's got what they need already purchased, except for some weekend warriors with some smaller patches of grass, and they'll come in later whenever that grass really greens up, and it just haven't had enough sunshine across most of the country to get that to happen yet. But People are bullish on grains right now. Your guys sitting in the Midwest, especially in Nebraska and places, they know they're going to have a heck of a crop. They do every year. Every year with all these hybrids and different mixtures of fertilizer and things, every year they make it where you can have more bushels to the acre, but they never do make it where you can have less acres to the cow. But you sitting in Burwell, Nebraska on Friday, look at this quote, like nothing ever happened. 41 head of steers weighed 608 pounds at 182 1/4. But get back to reality in the Plains States. South Coffeyville, Oklahoma had a load of mixed colored, kind of oaky type, a little bit on the plain side steers. 58 head of them weighed 866 pounds at 123. That's your feeder flash for Monday.